All right, welcome back to another interesting one. Today we'll be looking at one of the topic I love so much, which is titled OSI model. OSI model. Okay, we'll be looking at OSI model and what do you understand by what OSI model. Good day again, once again. I want to introduce myself. I am Joshua, your friend. I remain loyal to you, and I say thank you for your time. Thank you for your comment. All this while, I'll be receiving comment on my timeline. And again, I urge you to subscribe to this channel. Feel free to comment. Don't forget to like and don't forget to subscribe. Now, let's go straight to the topic of today. We will be looking at what OSI model. OSI model. Okay? OSI model. What does OSI model actually mean? The word OSI means Open System Interconnected. Okay? Are you getting me? Open System Interconnection. Alright? So, when we talk about OSI model, when we mention the word OSI, some person will be wondering, what is OSI? What is OSI? Okay? We have, even in my previous video, last time when we were teaching some students online, some of them were asking, what is OSI? OSI. So, OSI actually means Open System Interconnection. Okay? Open System what? Interconnection. Alright? That is what OSI model, OSI mean. Now, we are not talking about the model in combination with what? OSI. So, OSI, as it is, we say that the model, the OSI model, is a conceptual what? Model. Okay? It is a conceptual model that characterizes and standardizes the communication function of a computing system or a telecommunication without regard to its underlying internal structure and technology. Mark the word conceptual. It therefore means that it's based on imagination. Okay? How it should look like. Okay? When we talk about the word conceptual, it's talking about the imagination behind this model. Okay? Why setting it up? Okay? Are you getting it now? It's talking about what? The imagination. The term conceptual. It relates to a concept or a mental conception, okay, existing only in the imagination. Now, when we say it is a conceptual model, we are telling you that we are looking at it in an ideological angle, from an ideological angle, how this model can be what? Set up, okay, architecturally, okay. So, it look at all these various features. It characterizes and standardizes the communication function of a computing system or telecommunication without regard to which what? It underlying what? Structure and technology. You see how OSI model is. Now, since that is understood, let's go and look at what actually, how OSI came into play, how OSI came into existence, how OSI was introduced. Okay? Now, we'll move to the next slide. Now, let's look at, it was introduced in the year 1984 by International Standard Organization, ISO. Its main function is to define how information is to be transferred from one computer to another in a network. We must not forget that we does not use OSI model, though we don't really use it like that. Rather, we use what is known as what? TCP/IP model. Okay? Transmission Control Protocol IP model. Though they exhibit similar concepts with little differences. Okay? They are more or less alike. Okay? With little difference. Okay? Now, if we don't use OSI model, why OSI model? Why do we need to study it? We study it because it plays a vital role while troubleshooting or explaining network operation. That is it. It plays a vital role while we are talking about troubleshooting network operation or while we are explaining a network operation. Okay? So OSI model plays a vital role in that angle. Okay? Now, let's talk about transmission control protocol, because we mentioned it that if we don't use OSI model and what we use is TCP/IP model. Now that will give us an edge to quickly look at what TCP simply what mean. Okay, now the term transmission control protocol, it is a communication protocol that is used to interconnect network devices on the internet. Yes, TCP helps us to interconnect network devices on the internet. That's what it does. It can as well be used as a communication protocol in a private computer network, which could be intranet or what? Extranet. You see? Remember, in my previous video, we talked about what intranet mean. And we also talked, now we are now seeing what intranet or what extranet. Okay? Alright? So TCP IP address enables us to what? Interconnect network devices on the internet. Alright? Now, next, we talked about, we must not forget, note, an intranet is used for internal employee communication. Are you getting it? Remember, in my previous video, I urge you to go and watch what internet, because I explain it in detail, how it works. So, intranet here is used for internal employee communication, telephone directory, and many other things. While extranet is used to send email, access data, check the status of various others, and many other things. You see, they all have their functionalities, and these functions are very vital when it comes to what? Data exchanging. Okay? It's very, very vital when it comes to communication aspect. It's very, very vital when it comes to what? Passing information from one network to the other. Okay? Now, that will move us to what? The 7 layers in what? OSI model. I love this particular subtopic. What are the 7 layers in OSI model? We are going to look at these layers one after what? The other. We'll be looking at it from what? Different angle and their functions. How they function, how they work. Okay? And the first layer there is known as what? Application what? Layer. Application what? Layer. What application layer, what does it really mean? What does it stand for? And we are going to look at all these layers and we'll look at it in detail so that we understand, because each time they mention OSI model, and each time we hear layers, first layer, third layer, layer 1, layer 2, layer 7, we really need to understand what all these layers, how they function, what they mean, okay, and the roles they play in OSI model. Okay, now first we talked about what? Let's talk about application layer. Application layer, as the name implies, it is used by application to enable user communication while using application protocol such as SMTP, okay, simple mail transfer protocol, or file transfer protocol, or Telnet, etc. So application layer enable us to communicate, or why we using what? Application protocol. While you are sending your email or while you are exchanging files, we implement that layer known as what? Application what? Layers. Next is what? Presentation layer. Presentation layer receive data from application layer. And while it receives this data, it translates this data, it compresses it, encrypts it, and also decrypting of what? The data. That is the presentation layer. That is its function. Now, the third one, what will take us to the third layer, which is known as what? Section layer. Section layer is used to manage information. Information such as authentication and authorization. We authenticate and try to make sure that information or that access that one try to gain, we make sure that authentication measure is put into play so that only the authorized user should have access to certain information that is what? Available or authorized for that particular what? User. So session layer we enable us to manage information, and those information could be what? Why authenticating users detail, or why giving a authorization to what? Users. Okay, if that is understood, we move to what is known as what? Transport layer. What does transport layer? What does it do? It is used for segmentation. Okay, we use it to segment data. It is also used for what? Flow control. We'll talk about flaw. We'll talk about loopholes. We'll talk about ways where there is vulnerability. Transport layer can be used to control what flaw. And also, it can also be used for error control, as well as connection and connectless transmission. Okay? In both connected device and where there is no connection, whenever there is transmission, we can talk about what transport layer. We implement what is known as what that transport what layer model. That will push us to the fifth one, which is known as what network layer. As the name implies, it handles logical addressing. You know, when we talk about network layer, it handles what logical what addressing. It handle path destination and also what routing. Okay, I urge you to watch my previous video. We talked about router. Okay, it also what used for what routing. Network layer deals and function in these various what diverse manner. Then we now move to second to the last layer, which is known as what data link layer. Its main function is to receive data from packet. Don't forget, when we mentioned packet in my first video where we were talking about IDS, firewall, and all those ones, I explained what packet is. Okay, I urge you to watch my previous video so that you understand when we mention the word packet, you will understand what we actually mean. Okay, so data link layer function is to receive data from packets. Lastly, let's talk about what the physical layer. As the name implies, physical layer. Its function is to connect binary intermediate. Here we talk about cabling, talk about configuration, we talk about anything that has to do with what physical what hardware and all those connectivity. So this is the seventh layers in OSI what model. So far so good. We've been able to look at what OSI model is. We're able to look at when it was introduced, and we're able to look at the roles it plays, and we're able to look at its capability and the limit at which it can go, though it plays a vital role in terms of troubleshooting and explaining network operation. And we're able to look at what replaced or played roles that OSI model supposed to play, and which is known as what TCP/IP model. Okay, we're able to look at what TCP/IP model is, which is transmission control protocol, and we're able to look at it in detail. Okay, that pushes us to the last slide where we now talked about the slide you are seeing, which is seven layers in OSI model. And under this 7 layer, we're able to look at application layer, presentation layer, section layer, transport layer, network layer, data link layer, and physical layer. This is how far we can go in this topic. I thank you for your time. I remind your friend Joshua. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. If you have any question, don't forget to drop it on the comment section. Thank you for your time. And